Welcome to the Pack the House Show, where we have conversations about sharing your faith as you walk through life with others.
Hello and welcome to another episode of Pack the House. My name is Andrew Osborne and I'm joined once again by Aaron Davis.
Hiya!
And Pastor Jason Tabor.
Hello.
And this week we continued on with our launch series, our fall kickoff. And this week we looked at the story of Zacchaeus in the book of Luke. For those of you who aren't familiar with the story, which probably many of you are, Zacchaeus was the wee little man and climbed up in a tree to look for Jesus because he heard Jesus was coming through Jericho. But Zacchaeus was also a tax collector and was not liked by many people, whether Jews or Romans. So he was kind of an outcast. But as Jesus was coming through, he noticed Zacchaeus up in that tree, and he called out to Zacchaeus, and said that he wanted to come to his house and be with him. And it changed Zacchaeus's life. So we want to talk today a little bit about how we might notice the people who may be outcast or don't fit in quite right, or
maybe are just lost in the crowd the way Zacchaeus was. That's why he had to climb the tree.
Yeah, it may not be that there's anything wrong with them. They just don't feel noticed for whatever reason.
Maybe they're shorter.
Yeah, I don't know anyone like that.
Pay attention to those people.
So what might that look like? How should we go about noticing people?
Yeah, I think that when I think about this, I always start with the idea. So I think the initial reaction is, well, I pay good attention to people, right? I know who's around me. I know my friends. I know my coworkers, and that's probably true. You probably do. But what's also true is that I started noticing this. We're going to say that word so many times.
So many times.
I started being aware of the fact that there are lots more people in my day than I would necessarily think about. The person who pours my coffee, the person who does the cleaning in the building that I work in, the person who maybe does the maintenance in I don't live in an apartment complex, but hypothetically, right? There are lots of people around beyond the ones that I have reason to interact with.
Mm-hmm.
So when I think of noticing others, that's what I think of is paying attention to interacting with the people who I don't necessarily have a quote unquote reason to interact with.
Yeah.
Or even like a relationship. Because I think that's a really good point, is like, it's super easy for me to say to my kids, oh, you did really good today. Like in gymnastics, you did really good. But it's not as easy to like the mom sitting next to me being like, oh, you are a good mom. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like that's a little bit more like I have to get outside of my bubble and myself and notice that this mom who is like down about, her baby crying at gymnastics class, I can be like, you're doing a great job. Like walking around all gymnastics, you're doing an amazing job. You know what I mean?
Or the barista who pours my morning coffee, and I see her every day, but the extent of our relationship is, that'll be $3.25.
Right.
$7.50.
Yeah, $3.25. Pretty optimistic, but.
And sometimes I think too, like, especially with like baristas or cashiers, or like, we're like, oh, people are telling them good job all day, or people are saying, they're doing like, have a good day all day. But really, that's not really the case. Like, I think it's less people are saying nice things to them than the other way around. Do you know what I mean?
Especially because we live in such a fast-paced world. Like,
yeah.
Everyone wants their thing and they want to go. They don't want to have a conversation.
Right.
Mm-hmm. But the idea is that is true. But to ask I'm going to use the name, the one that I see all the time is Michaela, to ask her how her day is going, what her weekend plans are, takes a minute, 2 minutes. Yeah. So it's not one of the mindset shifts is when we do this with people who are already in our day, it's not a big schedule wrecker.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
This is an antiquated story, but I read a story in a book that I've read recently about a guy who started doing this with his toll taker. That is a machine now, but or a camera. But he made that point going through the toll line anyway. I'm paying the money anyway. To spend a few seconds, chatting doesn't add anything to the day.
Yeah.
But it does take some effort. I know for me, like, I'm not completely introverted, but I tend to have some moments where I feel more introverted.
Yes.
And so like it's easy for me to connect with someone that I'm already close with. And like I could walk over to one of you guys or to one of my neighbors and just hang out and talk, and it's no problem. But to get out of my bubble and go talk to someone who I don't know very well, or who I know but I never really connected with, it takes a lot of effort for me to work up the courage to do that. So it's not to say that this is an easy thing, but I think it's an important thing.
Oh yeah, I did definitely agree with that. And even me, I'm loud and obnoxious, but I didn't need agreement.
Are not.
Yeah. Well,
Thank you. Yes, I'm loud, but I feel that same thing of sometimes I talk myself out of opportunities like that. The great thing is, and we've said this before, again, if it's the people who are regularly a part of your day, you may talk yourself out of it on Tuesday, but you'll probably be back there Wednesday or Thursday. So you get another shot.
Well, and just baby steps make a world of difference. If the first day you just say, "Hey, how's it going?" and then the next day you ask them about their weekend plans, or eventually it can get deeper and deeper, but it doesn't have to be deep right away.
And a really easy way that I have found to start that conversation, because here's the issue. Well, gosh, I've been going to the gym for 6 months, and this woman has scanned my card for 6 months, and I can't ask her now what her name. I just say that. I literally said, "You've scanned my card every day for probably 100 times, and I've never introduced myself. I'm Jason." And that's
She
it.
knows her name is on the card.
She knows my name. I'm gonna mute you.
And hopefully she then tells you her name.
She did say that as well. Yes.
Okay, good. She wasn't just like, yeah, I know.
Well, yup, got it. But sometimes just owning the fact that, hey, it's been a long time, and the thing that would otherwise be an obstacle, we can kind of own it a little bit and make that the opening, so to speak.
Yeah, I always tell people, like, I'm like the queen of making it awkward, right?
Mm.
But like making it awkward really just means like it puts everybody else at ease, because like I'm the awkward one, and if it doesn't bother me, it like shouldn't bother anybody else, right?
Yep.
Yep,
The other one that I use a lot is like so simple it's stupid. I literally will say this: "I don't know you yet. I'm Jason." Just state that fact.
Yeah. I did that at my husband's work the other day because one of his coworkers had moved desks, and I went up and I introduced myself, and he's like, "We've met like 3 times." And I was like, "I am so sorry." And I was like, "Wait a minute, you used to sit over there." And he's like, "Yeah." And I was like, "Well, you can't move seats on me. That's on you, man."
Yeah.
I think the thing I say the most probably is, "I know I recognize you, but I don't know if we've met for sure yet."
Yeah. But going back to like the cashier.
And by the way, nobody has ever, even this guy, people say to me all the time, "Oh yeah, we've met before."
Yeah.
Or the lady that swiped my card 600 times before I asked her what her name is. Nobody has ever been upset with me when I've said that. The opposite, right? This is true of me. I love it when people pay attention to me, and that's not surprising. when people pay attention to me and notice me, I've never felt upset that it took too long, or why are you doing this? And it's been the same in every interaction I've had. People love this.
Well, and I think too, because it like makes it like, even if you do, or even if you're supposed to know who they are, right? You're actually taking the time to take a step back and be like, "No, I for real want to know who you are." Like it actually, it doesn't seem like as off-putting, like, and I don't think most people are like, "You don't remember my name? I'm like a really big deal," Like I think you do get those people occasionally, but that is like,
hate you now.
Say that.
right? Like I think you get those people occasionally, but like that's not the rule, that's the exception. So for sure.
Well, and like they always say, people love talking about themselves. So in these kind of situations, I tend to just ask a lot of questions.
Yep.
One, because it's easier for me to not have to think of what I'm going to talk about. I just ask them to talk about things and let them go. And I think for a lot of people, that makes them feel seen, that someone wants to know their story or more about them.
It also helps to level the ground a little bit. we talk a lot in these conversations about common ground. It is way easier to have common ground with someone when I am able to teach them something, show them something. So I use a similar strategy. Andrew, the question that I have in my head is, what can this person teach me?
Yeah.
Not necessarily like in an academic sense, but what do they know that I don't know yet?
Yep.
Right.
The other thing that really helps with is, and we'll come to another piece that I use a lot, but this one especially, it helps me make sure that I'm coming at them as open and equal as rather than judgmental. If I'm asking myself, what does this person know yet that I don't know? The other way around, whatever. What does this person know that I don't know yet? Automatically, it frames me to say this person has something to offer.
Yeah.
They're not less than. They can't be. They have something to offer.
Right. It's humbling. It's it's not coming in as the expert who knows everything. It's
Right.
Also, you're absolutely right. People love it.
Yeah, that's true too. Yeah, my mom always says when everybody asks her, like, what would your superpower be? Right. Most people say like invisibility or teleportation. My mom always says, I want to know everybody's story. So she always wants to look at people and know exactly like who they are and who they think they are.
The cool thing about that is you can actually find that one out.
I know, but it takes
a while.
She wants it to know instantly. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Almost like download it into her brain. Like with
you can take this. I think that would be miserable. I think
Well,
that would be so overloading.
No, I think it would be so enriching. Just imagine how quickly you could form more of a relationship.
Okay, we're off track, but this is like a Twilight Zone episode where at first it's really fun, but then it just becomes a huge burden to carry all this weight. But this is not where we're going today. Yeah, so this idea of what does this person know that I don't know yet? And what this means for me is like, just get really curious. And the thing is, so like I know nothing about racing. I know nothing about basketball. I'm a born and bred Hoosier, so it makes me terrible. But I can get pretty curious about those for the 3 or 4 or 5 minutes that it takes for me to build this interaction. I don't mind learning about them, right? So same thing. Like I met a guy that runs a lawn care business, and I was curious, what's the market for lawn care right now?
Yeah.
Also, my yard is terrible, so I should have asked him about that.
Yes.
Well,
So
and that kind of gets to something that you've talked about, Aaron, that a lot of people who feel overlooked, they don't always hear that they're valued. And by asking them about these things, whether it's basketball or lawn care, that's something that maybe they value that maybe you don't value, but you know that they value because they're telling you about it. And just by asking more about it and being interested, that shows them that there's value in what they care about.
Yeah, taking interest in your thing.
And like that, I think that's important too, just like in general, like as we were talking about the cashier or the barista, right? Like they're in those vocations. I mean, sometimes they're in those vocations because like this is what I have to do, right? But most of the time they're in those vocations because they like to talk to people. You know,
they're interested in coffee.
Yeah, they want to do customer service. It's not like they just want to be like, I love to scan things. I'm going to work at Walmart. You know?
Right.
So I think noticing that kind of stuff is really helpful too.
The other one that I use a lot, the kind of question that I ask myself, in addition to what does this person know, is what can I affirm about the interaction, about the person themselves. So maybe they have and it's not that I necessarily have to like the thing, right? Maybe they have orange hair, and I
Nothing wrong with that.
Okay, fair.
Yeah.
Not inherently. Sometimes what's underneath it.
Talking to two redheads, buddy.
Maybe they have green hair.
Okay.
And I don't particularly want green hair. But it's clearly something that's important to them. So to be able to say, yeah, I really, really like your hair, really, really, really great hair. Again, I wouldn't want it, but cool for you.
You don't have to say that part.
No, don't say that part. Or maybe it's something of the interaction, right? Really, really appreciate the way you talked me through all the menu choices, and I asked you 100 questions, and that was really great service, and I appreciate it. Something along those lines.
Or like in my life, especially like noticing people through the chaos
Mhm.
is really important to me. Like I was talking about last night at gymnastics, this mom had a 18-month-old who was getting like 3 molars, right? So she was just out of control, but they had to be at gymnastics because her older sister was there.
Mhm.
And I was able to ignore the screaming baby and like focus in on the mom and be like, you're doing a great job, ma'am. Like we all been there.
Yeah, by the way,
cut
as
through
a
the chaos.
dad, as a new dad, 5 months now, I get all sorts of unsolicited support
Oh yeah.
from
That's like,
other people. Keep at it, you're doing a great job, et cetera, et cetera. Moms don't seem to get that as much.
That's
So
true.
noticing a mom, you can be the hero that also notices mom.
Because dads, we usually don't know what's going on. So
I
if
think
you're
that's
doing-
they're so
doing things
shocked
right.
to see a dad that's like,
Interacting.
yeah.
Yeah. I know. I always attribute to my husband when he takes all 3 girls to the grocery store, right? He always gets things like, oh, look, you're such a great dad. Like, you're doing a great job. And then I get things like, she's not sitting down in the cart. She's going to fall out. Like, are you
Mhm.
being okay? Like, did you know she's over there touching the sausage? Like, that's what I get at the grocery store. Whereas he
Well,
gets
did you?
all- yeah, I totally did. I told her to go grab the sausage and bring it back to the cart.
Fair
Exactly
question.
why I don't go into grocery stores. I just do
I
the
know. My husband doesn't a lot either. But when he does, it's all like, you're such a great dad. It's so funny. It's just perceptions of people. But cutting through the chaos and noticing
Mhm.
someone's value, even though you should be noticing the other stuff that's around them, and you're noticing what they're doing and what they're bringing value to the situation, I think is really impactful to people.
Mhm. A couple other things that come to mind, just ways of noticing that I think about especially when I'm trying to do this, when I'm at my best, right? What are they wearing? Do they have a team jersey on? Do they have for kids, is it a Disney shirt? If it's some kind of, what's your favorite Avenger, right? Do they have the logo of a certain, place or school or whatever it might be? What are they doing, right? What can I notice and hopefully affirm of what they're doing or what we're doing together? And then, so I learned a strategy recently that I want to share that makes a lot of sense to me. If you want to begin the conversation, I'm going to say it like this: state a fact and then ask a question about it. So, for example, maybe you're at a party and you say, man, these drinks are really strong. What's your favorite type of? That was a weird example.
Yeah, we don't drink strong drinks. We're Lutherans. Come on.
Okay, fine. Not strong ones, but several in a row. It equals the same thing. Okay, maybe we'll say, this is really great pizza. What's your favorite kind of style of pizza or topping of pizza or whatever?
Mhm.
So state a thing that's true, and then ask a follow-up question about it.
Yeah.
And I think what you're saying is really impactful because it makes it so it's like not that hard.
Yeah.
Right? Like what Andrew
That's
was
the hope.
talking about earlier, where he was like, I've got to get up the bravery. Like
Mhm.
what you're saying is like normal conversation. Like I'm
Yeah.
noticing that this person is standing next to me. We're both eating the same pizza. I'm going to start a conversation, even if it doesn't have to be something like massively big. Right.
Yeah, or profound or
Yeah.
deep or whatever. Two other things, and I've been reading, so I'm gonna be a little vulnerable here. I've been reading about how to make friends as an adult, because it's hard.
It's not as hard when your kids are in activities, by the way. You're kind of forced into those friendships.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that day, weirdly.
Yeah.
But so one thing that the book that I've been reading talks a lot about like research-based ideas.
Mhm.
And here's two pieces of research. It turns out that all of us consistently underestimate two things. The first thing that we underestimate is how likable we are. That is to say, and I could go through the whole process of how this came about, but the upshot of it is people around you like you, even people who are new to you, like you much more than you think they do. You are more likable than you think. The second thing that we underestimate is how interested another person is, which is, I want to invite maybe a new coworker over to watch the game. I don't know if he wants to. I don't know if he's in position. I don't know what he wants to. It's in the research. Statistically, they're much more interested.
Mhm.
So these are two kind of mindset shifts that we can bring with us into these interactions. Assume they like you, because they probably do, and assume that they're interested, because they probably are, more than you think. And
Yeah,
again,
even
I'll show you the research if you want it, but research says so.
even introverted people want to have close relationships.
100%, and need to.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I've found too, like, especially with like moms and stuff, like if they're saying no, it's because like it's out of their control. You know
Mhm.
what I mean? Like if they had the power to be with you, like to come and hang out with you, then they would. But like, so a lot of times if they say no, it's because they're out of their control, you know?
Yeah, the no doesn't necessarily mean I don't want to.
Right. Exactly. So
That's a great point.
I was actually raised really weirdly because my parents always taught me that if somebody didn't like me, then that was something's wrong with them. So we grew up with this mentality that like legit everybody likes you. But I know
Something's
I'm weird.
wrong with them.
I'm weird. They don't like you. Something's wrong with them.
I was ready to agree with that until you said it means something's wrong with them. But yeah, if they don't like you, it's on them.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, as long provided that you're likable, which most people are.
Try not to be a jerk, but
Yeah, if you're a jerk, then it's on you. But if you're not,
If everybody doesn't like you, you might want to do some like
Yeah,
self-examination.
could
But
be.
judge
like,
a pattern.
for the most part.
Hey, I want to end with a story about why this noticing thing is valuable to this goal we have of sharing our faith.
Yeah.
And I want to be really careful to say this is not agenda based, because if your friend, if your coworker, if your new friend finds out that you were doing this in order to share faith with them, how are they going to feel?
Yes.
Used.
Yeah.
Right.
Not good.
Like,
So
why
we're
are
not.
you asking me that?
But I want to end with the story of one of my good friends, Sean, who was my bartender for many years. Not many, 2, I guess. Multiple years. And served me across the bar for a long time, and we got to talking. And we became I would say pretty good friends. That went on for about 2 years, and he knew what I did, and we talked about that sometimes, and then he shared some of his story. And about 2 years in, he asked me the question, do you have a Bible I could read, and where should I start?
Yay.
And I didn't push in that direction at all, but all this to say, that started from just paying attention to the person who was serving me my beer.
Right.
Yeah.
Who, by the way, turned out to be a cool guy. And after that, also was interested in knowing more about Jesus.
Mhm.
Yeah. And I think like the fact that you just, engaged him in conversation, right? Like you just were like, I'm not going to engage you in conversation because you're serving me drinks and this is what I'm supposed to do. Like
Right.
I'm engaging you in conversation because you're a human being. And like, I want to actually like talk to you and know more about you as a person.
You're here, I'm here, I want to talk to people.
Right.
Your people.
Exactly. I think that makes, I really do think your motivation behind it makes a big difference,
Mhm.
And I do think people can tell if you're like, are you just talking to me to evangelize me?
Mhm.
Right. Like
Yeah,
I think
definitely.
people, and I actually like coming from, a lot of atheists, like that's their first inclination when they start talking to me is they think that that's going to be
Mhm.
what I'm talking to them about. And then when I don't, then it just makes them be like, oh, that's weird.
Yeah,
know?
that's a great thing to say. You especially if the person knows you're a believer, whether it's atheist, agnostic, someone hurt by the church, anywhere on that spectrum,
Mhm.
you may have to, I'm going to say, wait through a lot
Right.
of, well, I better watch my language, or I have to, something along you're going to evangelize me in some way.
Right.
One guy said to me once, I think everything you believe is a fairy tale.
Mhm.
Okay. You may have to,
Whatever.
you may have to withstand some of those things. All
Yeah.
those things are just testing.
I found in my situation when I have opportunities like that with a friend who is maybe a little antagonistic toward faith, I don't have to push it. or evangelize them, because eventually they'll bring up the questions if they're ready to.
If they
I don't
want
have
to, when they're ready.
They know who I am and what I believe. I'm not going to shove it down their throat, but I'm open to talking about it, and I make that pretty clear. If they ask questions, I try to be as open as I can.
Yeah, I get to make a friend, and when they're
Yes.
ready, they'll talk. If they
Right.
want to, they'll talk about it.
And let's be honest, the evangelistic part of it all is Jesus's job, not ours. Like, we're just here to like make connections and relationships and build communities, and he's in charge of all the salvation stuff, you know.
And share some bits of good news when we have the opportunity.
Absolutely.
Yeah, my job is to pray that the Holy Spirit just does the work through me.
Exactly. Exactly. We don't do it.
As it relates to salvation, yes.
You're right.
You have a role to play. You're important in the equation.
I'm just a hammer.
Weird
All right,
VeggieTales reference. Or maybe Schoolhouse Rock. I'm just a hammer. Anyway, we've been all over the place today. We better wrap this up.
All right, so just be watching for those people who may not feel noticed all the time, and share some good news with them.
Yeah, there are some easy ways, natural ways to begin a conversation, begin a relationship, even if it's been a while.
Yeah. Awesome. All right, well, Pastor, you want to pray us out today?
Sure. Jesus, we thank you for the role we do have to play, even as making people believers is your job, and you do it better than we could. We thank you that we have a part to play in it, and that you value us enough to give us a part. And so we ask, Lord, that you would open our eyes, especially this week, to those among us who maybe are there a lot or pretty regularly, that maybe up to this point we haven't paid a lot of attention to, or haven't had a reason to notice yet. Lord, that you would not only open our eyes, but also give us words to be able to begin some connection with them, overcome the obstacles, overcome the fears, and give us the right words. That in time, Lord, at very least, we might make a new friend. But in time, if it is to be, that they would come to know more about you through that relationship. In your name, we pray these things. Amen.
Amen.
Thanks for praying.
You're
Thanks
welcome.
everybody for joining us. Have a great week.
See you next time.
Thanks for joining us for the Pack the House show. For more content like this, or to connect with us, visit our website, cornerstonelutheran.church.